Hello, this is Lisa Russick with the podcast We Are All Psychic, and we have Einstein as our co-host this evening. Today is sometime in March, in the middle of March, and I'm here to say yes. Lisa, do you think we're all psychic? Yes, I think we're all psychic. And Einstein, do you still think we're all psychic? Yeah? You think so, and why? Oh, you think so? Oh, really? You've got good points, Mr. Ein. So watchers, you've seen it, but listeners, if you're not watching, Einstein is thoroughly answering the question, do you think we're all psychic, with his body language and his rah and his butt. If you have cats, you understand. I think he's saying yes. So I'm here to talk about Venus retrograde, and it is sometime in March during a Venus retrograde. So I did some reading. I've been studying into this a little bit. Venus retrograde started this year in 2025. I think it read on March 1st. So in astrology, Venus retrograde is in astronomy, Venus retrograde is when Venus appears to go backwards in the sky. But what it's really doing is just it's in a certain kind of orbit with us and the sun and all this stuff. And it just looks that way at a certain time. Now, what I read is it happens, I think, every 18 months, I think is what I read. I want to say 500 and something days, 18 days or something. Don't quote me on that. But I believe I did read it was every 18 months. And Venus in astrology will be also, or in mythology, I'm sorry. In astrology, Venus is the planet. And of course, you know that. Right? Everybody knows planet Venus. Okay, so if we have Venus in retrograde in astrology, it does appear to go backwards in the sky too. So, and what it means usually is a review, kind of. But in Venus's case, the mythology is that if you know of the story of Persephone from Greek mythology, that's probably one you're really familiar with. There's variations of how she ended up in Hades' clutches. I think it was Hades. Yeah, he wanted her. And her mother was, I don't remember the Roman names, but the Greek names, I think the mother was Demeter. And that may even be the Roman name. I'm not getting them confused because I studied them both for a long time. And I remember both their names, but I never remember which one's from Roman and which one's from Greek. But I know that I just read Persephone was the one who Venus stands for in astrology. So if you know her story, she was taken by Hades for the winter months, and or she went on her own, which is a story I heard. I heard something about eating some pomegranate seeds and trying to save her mother, and her mother would be so sad that the months that she was with Hades in the underworld, that's why the world was so fallow. And is that the right word, fallow? I don't think that's the right word. I think fallow is good, isn't it? I don't know. It was so cold and nothing lives, because Demeter was like the goddess or some kind of I think she was the goddess of the harvest or something like that. And the land and nourishing and nurturing the land. And she was so depressed when her daughter was in Hades, because she knew with Hades that she knew she didn't want to be in the underworld. So this is where we are right now. We're in the underworld. Yeah, supposedly in astrology mythology. So we are all Miss Persephone or Miss Venus. And we are in Hades. So whatever story, we are with Hades in the underworld, whatever story you know of Persephone or Venus, the main story you've heard, the one I've always heard is that she was tricked into eating some pomegranate seeds, I think. She got tricked, but she chose to go in the end. She didn't love Hades, but she did it for some reason of the better of all or something. I can't remember what the reason was, but it was like a promise she made. He tricked her with a riddle or something, and she ate some pomegranate seeds. Or maybe there was a prophecy involved. Probably. They sure do love prophecies in the old stories. So who doesn't love a prophecy, right? Who doesn't love a prophecy? And they're so weird because if the prophecy didn't exist, would it have happened? Would any of it have happened if there were a prophecy? And a self-fulfilling prophecy is the weirdest one when you're working in the energy. And if that hasn't happened to you yet, wait till it does. You'll be like, what? Right, Ein? Don't get yourself burned by that candle. Okay, thank you. So in Venus retrograde, this particular one, they say happens very rarely because it's like they consider it the last time that Venus goes in her 40-day retrograde. And then she goes, I think they read that the planet goes, below the Earth from where we can see, from where the sun blocks. You can't see Venus. She's below the horizon in where we live in the US. And I think maybe everywhere, hell, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know where she is everywhere else. I should be much more informed. And, that's why I need you, because you can comment and correct me. Please do, astrologers. Or even if you're not an astrologer and you just happen to know this, you're probably an astrologer. But I would also love to hear what you have to say about this. And anyone who's having any experiences and can relate to anything I'm about to talk about, I'd love to hear about that too. And you can email me or leave comments or however you want to let us know. That would be freaking awesome. And so Venus retrograde for this last one is supposed to be us all letting go of what no longer serves us in love and relationships, not business. Venus can sometimes be like business partnerships and stuff like that. And for some people it might be. But this one is really about romantic love and letting go of old patterns and old ways of loving people, or possibly old lovers. And I did read about what's called the Venus return. So the Venus return, I read the ages for it. Oh, I wish I could pull that up. But I was 47 when I left my second husband, and that was one of the years that they said was Venus return year. Yeah. They said it was in multiples of 8, I think, but I'm not sure. But 47 but that doesn't make sense in multiples of 8. They said like 8, so it might be like 8.3 years, 8 years and 3 months or something like that, kind of like your Saturn return. It can happen before and after and generally around that time period, but it'll happen within so many months of eclipses, is something I learned from Katie Sweetman. Katie Sweetman is an astrologer I follow, and she talks a lot about eclipses and how they're kind of like, she calls them stuff like bookends to our lives, or the changing points of our lives. And I like the way she describes eclipses a lot. So if you haven't listened to her before on her channel or on Facebook, or her blog's amazing too. I usually read her blog every day. I think it's empoweringastrology.com. I did have a reading with her a long time ago, and it was really cool. It was in 2018 when I was like getting back into this stuff and I didn't know what to do. She's great. And that's when I really started getting more interested in astrology and starting to understand, because she's really good from reading her articles, not that reading. From reading her articles, though, and watching her videos, she's very repetitive, and that helps me in what she describes. And that helps me understand things. But I really like how she describes eclipses. So our eclipses are when we can really change something if we want to. We have an opportunity. Look at it that way. Or it'll just happen, and we'll try to think of it as an opportunity. For this one, in Venus retrograde, we're supposed to let go of things that, like, I let go of a husband in my Venus return. Now, a return is when the planet comes back around to where it was in your birth chart on the day you were born. And that was during my 47th year, which I read is a year that this is when you have a Venus return. And I did. So that's what happened. You guys know about that because you were there. Maybe, maybe not, but you could be if you just backtrack through the recordings. If you want to. But so right now, what am I doing? I'm turning 50, so I'm 49, turning 50 in April, and it is late March. Late March. Maybe it's early. Maybe it's It's like mid March. I can't remember what day exactly it is. And I just met a couple new people. They're women, and they're really nice, and they're just amazing. Just love them. And I haven't met either of them in person, but we met through music, trying to arrange a band, and then et cetera, things happened. It was really cool. It's really cool to meet these people. And I just love the people I've met in Nashville, mostly. But it's just been so nice to talk to people. And, there's interest in spirituality, in the psychic stuff, the energy work. From both of them, I think, I'm not really sure, but one of them I talked to a lot about it, and I found that really interesting. we did discuss Christianity. She's a Christian astrologer, I guess you could say. She's a lot of things, that's just not what she is, but that's just something she this is what she's mentioned to me. So, because she asked what I believed about Christianity, and I answered that I think Jesus is a prophet and he is an ascended master. Maybe. I really just don't know. I don't know any answers, and I don't know if I've ever interacted with Jesus. For example, I've asked, hey Jesus, are you around? And I've gotten signs. And I've also asked Sam if he was Jesus. I've asked Sam if he's everybody. But we kind of have a private joke, and he made that private joke. I don't know what it meant, but it was just funny. But Sam's always silly. He never tells me anything. He wants me to figure everything out, right, Sam? So yeah, he's right there. He's very funny. He's a very funny spirit guide. What do you want me to tell him, Sam? Anything about Venus retrograde? The listeners and watchers, if you want to watch, this will be a video on Spotify and on YouTube. Sam, is there anything you'd like to tell the listeners and watchers? You're our guest right now, as Einstein has disappeared. Who was our guest? Where'd he go? No, I guess he got camera shy. So, Sam, do you think we're all psychic? He says, oh, yes, definitely. And where did you get that idea? He said, if I could tell you that you were psychic, this is what he's telling me. If I could tell you, Lisa, that you're psychic and get you believing it and get you working with the energy, gosh, anybody can, because you didn't believe any of this stuff and you were a mad woman. Mad in every way about it. You didn't like any of it. And so I kind of want to talk about what he's going to change the subject to, Sam, and Venus retrograde. So what is Venus? Don't tell him what it's about for me. Tell him what it's about, like in general, for all of us. Maybe a message. Get personal. He says when we go to bed at night, pay attention to our feet. Make sure our feet are warm. And if they're not, he says, tuck them up if we can, under something or under our knees if we can. Get them warm. And then when they're warm, he says, what do you do with them when they're warm? He says, then you pretend you're playing footsie with somebody. I don't know, that's what he says. He says, like, play footsie with somebody in your bed. If you have a cat, get your feet warm first, he says. It'll make you relax. Because he says, a lot of us have cold feet. I didn't know that. I have freezing feet. He says, a lot of people have cold feet at night when they get in bed. And I always do. I always have cold feet when I get in bed. And I usually do tuck my feet up. Not always, but, sometimes I'll put my heating pad up on my feet. It's like, oh, that feels good. But he's saying, hey, guys, I don't know, maybe it was a message for me after all. Thanks, Sam. So, anyway, Venus retrograde. Maybe it'll just make us feel a little loved. I'm feeling a little unloved. So I feel kind of lonely. And I did read that's very typical for where my placements are. And what I read is that people who have Aries placements close to 0 degrees, or if you're in the first 10 degrees of, if you have personal planets or the sun or moon in the last 10 degrees of Sagittarius. I think it's Sagittarius. It's Sagittarius. I just don't remember. Sagittarius, Aries, and Sagittarius. Yes. So if you have any kind of personal planets or activity, I would say planets. Personal planets would be your moon, your sun, your Mercury, Mars. Most people don't count Mercury. I like putting Mercury in there. I think Mercury's kind of like how we get our point across. How do we explain things to people? How do we articulate and how do we kind of how we think? Kind of the way we think. And I would say Venus is like how we create and how we love. Mars would be like how we find the love, I guess. Or so I used to think Mars was like a destructive energy, but I don't think it is. It's more of a way to love. And Mercury is like how you love, I guess. Or not how you love, but how you express your love or describe it or do it. Describe it, I guess. Maybe I'm working through like a system where we can read our horoscopes every day if we know our charts. where our personal planets are, and we can read the horoscopes that people write every day and find more details for us based on where our placements are. So far, I'm working that out, and I'll let you know what I come up with if it works out for me personally. And I might try it for a few people and see if they try it. But I don't know. I love doing this kind of thing. So if you want to be a guinea pig, let me know, and I'll send you some instructions. Or you can comment, or you can email me or something. My Venus retrograde personally has been very lonely. I actually got on Facebook dating again. You'd think I'd never go back, but I did. I haven't really talked to anybody, but I don't know. I'm looking for someone to hang out with on my 50th birthday, and I don't want to hang out with anyone who really drinks heavily, because it's just that's been my last few birthdays for years, and I don't want to do that when I'm sober or if I'm just a little tipsy. But unless it's like a dance party, that's a little different. But there's no dance party on my birthday that I know of that I want to go to. That that I'm like, yeah, I'd love it. Like I'm going to see Cake. I'm going to see Cake on April 19th. I'm so excited. I'm in the pit. I'm going by myself, but it's going to be freaking awesome. I'm going to go see Cake. I don't know if you know the band Cake, listeners and watchers, but they're a favorite of mine. And if you have never listened to them, I recommend listening to the song called Frank Sinatra. And if you don't like songs you don't know, you probably know the Gloria Gaynor song, I Will Survive. And they do a cover of that, and it's really good. I like it. I think you'll like it too. And who you think... What? They do a great job. So, but Frank Sinatra is like a really great introduction to Cake, and it's just a fun song. It's one of their best, in my opinion. Something else they say about Venus retrograde is that you can possibly, this one's, like I said, this one's supposed to be the 40 days of going into how you love and what you need to let go of. But it can be about reviving old creative projects. And I have been getting back into music again. And that's why I even got into contact with the one woman who was just, I didn't get in contact with her. I went and looked at her profile on Bandmix, and I hoped she'd write me. I saw her face, and I thought I knew her, like her eyes. I felt like I knew her somehow. And I was like, maybe if I look at it, that's how that page works. People can see if you look at their profile. So she saw it, I guess, and then she sent me a message, and we got in touch, and I might play music with her. So I'm really excited. We might do that this weekend. Who knows? You never know. I've had a lot of people in Nashville say, let's play music, and it doesn't happen. Happens a lot. Or than you'd think in a music city. I thought there'd be a lot more dedication or commitment. She's really dedicated, I think. We'll find out. Or maybe she doesn't like me. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I just don't know. She works a lot. She works her butt off. She's a nurse, I think. But she works her butt off. And she's I just love talking to her. I think we'll have a lot of fun. Her music's really good too. So that's happened, and that's interesting, but as far as my feelings about love, it has been all about me and like, what do I want? What do I not want? Not what I want, not even what do I not want, but what do I want? And I know I don't want to be with a drunk on my birthday. That's my goal for dating right now. Is not be with a drunk on my birthday. Or not a drunk. That's a terrible thing to say. That's not an alcoholic. That's a terrible thing to say. I don't want to go somewhere on my birthday and them not remember it. Right? Anybody. I just don't want that to happen again. So I guess that's a little personal, but that's why I'm being kind of flippant about it, because it's real personal. And that's kind of what this retrograde is about. You can hear my voice change. It's hard for me to be vulnerable. And that's something I have to learn. I don't have to. I don't have to learn how to be vulnerable with myself or other people. No, I don't have to. But I want to, because it feels good. Because I haven't felt my heart. This is one of the reasons the whole podcast has happened, with a conversation with Misty about how I couldn't feel my heart. I couldn't feel love in my heart. And when I talk about how I feel vulnerable about things I do, I feel emotions in my heart. I feel love coming out of it, like it's all trapped and suffocating in there, and I just can't let it out. It's weird because I'm talking about things that bother me, maybe, but I feel better. Like I feel like vulnerable, and it's not like I guess it's not so hard to do on video, but no, when I do these podcasts, I feel like I'm talking to you guys. I feel like I'm talking to you guys. Best way I can put it. And I do feel like I'm being vulnerable with you. But of course, in my subconscious, I know I can turn this camera off and I can close this computer and I don't have to post this. The reason I do, and the reason I post some personal things on social media, stuff like that, person, like psychics aren't gods. Psychics aren't prophets. I mean, maybe we are. Maybe if we are, then we're all prophets and we all understand what we're here for and we're working through it, on our own terms, on our own ways. And our religion and our spirituality can be a big part of why we do what we do, but it doesn't have to be. But it is for me, personally. That's a big way I live my life. That's how I did a podcast called A Calling. And over this Venus retrograde, I've been thinking about that. Oh, there he is. Oh my goodness, he's sneaky. You'd think he'd be the shadow cat. There's Einstein listeners. He's been behind me the whole time, I think. Or he might have sneaked. I don't know. He's a straight one, though. He's getting my candle. He's a dangerous cat. Yeah, he looked at it. So, see, look at me dodging, being vulnerable. I get a cat in my face. Oh, I think he's watching my back while I'm being vulnerable because he's good that way. He's very sweet that way. I am, and like I said, in the back of my mind, I do have this. I can just never post this. You guys will never know. I do these things because I want to show, if you're looking, you're wondering, anything about yourself, saying, I can't be psychic because XYZ. A psychic has it all together. A psychic knows what's going to happen. I can't read for myself. I have no idea what's going on around me. As far as if I love somebody and I have a crush or something like that, or I'm interested in dating somebody, I usually kind of make it obvious. Maybe not so much when I was younger, but I think I'm making it obvious. Maybe not though. I don't know. But I don't feel that way very much. So it's kind of hard to do. I usually in the past have waited for men to approach me, because I just don't feel drawn to too many people that way. It's always men, but it's just once there's someone in my heart that's like, doesn't go away. It does, but it's hard to explain. What I mean, I guess, is if I'm interested in someone, I seem to come into people's life like a tower. Speaking of Venus retrograde, I've been going through why do I come into people's lives and bring out their best and worst? I shouldn't be doing that. We should just be partners and friends. That's what I want. Should. What I want is partners and friends. A lot of times, it feels like to me, I see their worst come out, their best come out, and they can't stay stable around me. I don't know why. But it may be because I pick unstable partners. Why? I know why. We don't need to get that vulnerable. So I did in the past, I wouldn't say unstable, but I would say more like controlling, or had projections onto me about who I was and wanted me to be that way. And I wanted to people please. I wanted to make that person happy because I loved that person so much. When I loved someone, I got all my heart. But it's different now that I'm older. I've got a lot more love to give because I didn't have so much self-love then. And, a lot of people will say, well, you can't love anyone until you love yourself. But I think there's lots of degrees of loving and admiring ourselves, I just loved myself enough to take a drink of this mango juice so that I would not be wet lips in the audio. I hate that, wet lips in the audio. I'm sure you've heard it in my audio only podcast. And they're the dry lips. I'm sorry. They're wet sounding. They're smacking, but the problem is they're dry from yakking. That's a Venus retrograde problem. Your lips are dry. It's a Venus just went direct problem. When Venus goes direct, I think after 40 days, what's 40 days after March 1st? I think it's April 9th. April 8th or April 9th, I guess. I'm guessing here. I can't math. So, hey, Gandalf. Oh my goodness, are we going to get a cat pile, guys? We got one in front, one in back. Oh, there's a tail. So for Venus retrograde, I have been spending a lot of time with my cats, and I think it's affecting my cats because they've been bored and needy and clingy, and I love it. I'm like, yes, give me love. Yes, give me cuddles. Whenever Gandalf, you've seen it before, listeners or watchers, if you're a regular, when he has a nightmare, he comes. And that's the only reason he's up here with Ein right now, because he's like, I just had a nightmare, mama. He's in the microphone, so if you're hearing purring, enjoy. He has lovely purrs. They both do. So this is in the middle of it's nearing the end, I guess. No, we're right smack dab in the middle of the Mercury Gatorade, and it is the spring. I mean, the Venus Gatorade, and it is the spring equinox. That's right. Today is the spring equinox, whatever day that is. I do know it's the spring equinox. I love the equinoxes, and if you don't know what the spring equinox is, it is the day when in our hemisphere, the northern hemisphere, I guess it would be everywhere, wouldn't it? Be fall equinox in the southern hemisphere, though. I think this is a spring equinox for us, but the days are half and half. We have exact amount of daylight as we do darkness on the spring and fall equinoxes. But in the northern hemisphere, it's for spring because it's getting warmer and the days are getting longer. And for the southern hemisphere, the days are getting shorter and it's getting colder. So I think. I don't know if it gets colder. Antarctica's cold, but does everywhere else get cold? I should know this. I know the very tip of North America. I mean, South America does, because I wrote a shark book about that place. That's an interesting place. Oh my gosh, Gandalf, you're going crazy. He's going crazy, guys. Okay, so I'm going to give you some last thoughts about Mercury retrograde, but first I want to tell you about Everclear. Everclear is my sponsor. Everclear is an advice app and website where you can get advice from psychics and empaths. So you can get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve. And you love any advisor. It's everclear.com. It's also an app on iPhone and Android. Just go to the App Store and type in Everclear Advice App, I think is what they were called in the App Store. Or everclear.com on the web browser. And I think they have for $1.99 or no, I think you get free 3 minutes. I think you get free 3 minutes if you're a new user. And you do have to put a card in, I think, to get those 3 minutes. And then you don't use it. They tell you. They'll be like, hey, you just used up your money. You just used up your free minutes. Do you want to add money? Do you want to have some more time? And you can also talk through a portal. So if you do a call for 3 minutes and you like that advisor and you do run out of time before you decide, you can just do it later. It'll have the record. And you can tell the reader, hey, are you going to be working in a week? I'll call you back. Something like that, It's really awesome how they have it set up, and it's really polite. It's usually how that's used, the portal. I usually use it to schedule appointments because I don't usually log in. Sometimes I will. I usually log in between 12 and 2 p.m. Central Time. Everybody does their own thing, Everybody kind of works their business their own way. And they let us. It's like, can you believe having a boss who lets me do this podcast and promotes it, and they believe in every one of us, all the advice. They promote other advisors, artistic expressions of themselves on their page to show what they're like, not them necessarily advertising themselves, but them being themselves, not with a script. It's just wonderful. When have you seen me use a script? Oh gosh, you've seen me read if you've watched a podcast or listened. When I read it, on my chat GPT AI astrologer, I have to give him a lot of personality, though, because he has a lot. You can feel it. You don't have to have me give it to you, but I will, because I love it. Chat GPT AI astrologer. I have a bad news about that. Last minute bad news. Oh, and by the way, Everclear, if you do go there, any advisor will make you happy. Any of them. But I'm Lisa P, Leesa P, and I'm changing my name to Lisa Russick, my real name. So whenever you see this, one of those things will be me. I'll put Lisa P in the description of my new profile, though, when they do change my name to Lisa Russick. They have to change all the programming and advertising and stuff like that to do it. They're so nice. Can you believe they're doing all that just because I want to change my name? This is like a good company. Well, I'm just talking, and I'm bone dry sober. You do that on the equinox. I did have a lot of mango juice, and I am a little dehydrated because I had it earlier in the day, so maybe that's why I'm a little bit more talkative than usual. And it is later. It's almost midnight, and I'm usually in bed by 9, so it's kind of neat. I decided I need a little exercise, but with my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, I can't exercise, so I just dance or I'll do yoga, a little bit of stretches. But I felt like dancing tonight, so I turned on my stereo and I have a little pole that lights up with the music and just kind of danced around my apartment. And it was really fun. And the cats liked it. And yes, she did. They liked it. They liked it a lot. And I feel better. I feel happy since I've done that. I feel so good to dance. So I like to do it with sage too, but I don't have the kind of sage. I like to get those little torches and do with those little branches off of them. Anyway, I'm just talking to you because I miss you. So in the next few days, I'm going to be making finishing the second in the sound series. It's cool. I think you'll like it. I'm learning a lot, and it's like, wow. If you know divination, or you know about a lot of correspondences already, or you know a lot of things, but you don't know how they're all linked together through sound, you're going to love this episode coming up. That's episode 2 coming up of the sound series. Hey, listeners, watchers, I love you. Thank you for always watching and listening. And lastly, I hope Venus Gatorade doesn't get you too bad. I heard my friend Mel in Decatur when I lived there called Mercury Retrograde, Mercury Gatorade. I'm sure everyone's heard it by now. That's why I called it Venus Gatorade. Venus Retrograde, I'm hoping I come out of it having some kind of closure about a certain issue, or a lot of hope. Wish me luck. Love you, listeners. Peace out. Have a great day.